You are now listening to
Samurai Shukai
Samurai Shukai.
Samurai Shukai
Radio. Yeah, I'm really curious about that. Like, coming over here before you came over and like going through I think you were talking about like life as a wrestler after the storm, right?
Yeah, dude, I can definitely I can share that with you guys. And what would you want to hear first? The wrestling stories or how I got into when I was at wrestling stories? Okay. So, and by the way, I'm rocking a really cool California Republic bandana.
Yeah, shout out your bandana.
Dude, I wave the California flag, man. I might be from New Orleans, but I feel like I'm Cali at heart, so.
Golden State, man.
Golden state of mind, baby. Golden state of mind. So, so going back, man, when I first started wrestling, dude, so it's funny because my dad wrestled a little bit in high school, but he didn't wrestle all 4 years. He just wrestled for like one season. But then my uncle, he wrestled all 4 years in high school. And so I would go to his dual meets as a kid. And I remember there was like a mat and like up in the bleachers, like these bleachers had a platform, like you'd go up the stairs and that's where the wrestling room was. It was this open area. And so like I remember there was these kids on the wrestling mat, and I remember as a kid wrestling on there. I was like 6 or 5 years old. So I pretty much, dude, just I remember, just that was like my first time ever grappling, but that was very short-lived and didn't do it for a while. And then once I got into high school, my dad was like, hey, you got to kind of figure something out. What do you want to do? And so I was like, maybe track, or something. I wasn't sure, because I used to play baseball as a kid. And in Louisiana, dude, everybody plays baseball when they're kids, just like everybody out here skateboards, but I decided not to play baseball anymore. I wanted to do something different. So I remember going up to the wrestling coach, like, hey, I got into high school, it was my freshman year, and I said, yeah, I want to wrestle. He goes, all right, cool. And he knew my uncle, he knew my dad. So got into wrestling as a freshman, and to be honest, dude, I was kind of just thrown in a corner in a way where they weren't really like helping me.
Really?
Yeah, I was kind of thrown in a corner my first 2 years. Like, I didn't know anything about wrestling. I only won one match my freshman year. One match. I had 11 matches and only won one.
Oh, dude.
I won one. And so the next year, and so the next year I was just really discouraged. Not because, I only had one win. I don't think that bothered me. I think the fact that, and my team still still took care of me. Like, they still showed me and stuff, but coaching wise, I kind of felt like I was thrown in the corner a little bit. I mean, junior high, yeah, but at the same time, I kind of felt like, because I was like, dude, I just was clueless of wrestling, dude. And if you would have asked me when I was 14, hey, you're going to go far in this sport, I'm going to be like, yeah, right, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And so, dude, we were like...
Well, I feel like that's a lot of times the thing about life,
Yeah.
Because, when I was
Yeah.
first started playing music and stuff, I would have, when someone said, this was going to be the thing that you study and your profession and thing that you go on forever, I would have been like, what the heck, like. But even when I started karate, and I was like, you're gonna be doing this for basically the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, dude.
who would have thought that?
So, pretty much, like, it was cool, man. We had, like, this old school setting. We had mats from, like, the 1990s and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But they were still good mats. They were clean. And this is where my uncle wrestled, too. And there was a lot of guys, a lot of legendaries. So, where I went to school, man, like, the guys were... Like, they're a powerhouse. The school was built on wrestling, believe it or not. A school in New Orleans was built on wrestling. And that state is made for football. And they had 20 consecutive titles. And I think they have 27 or 28 now. Wow. Like, all together. Like, they just won a title last year or something. I don't know. But I went... So, that's the history of the school. And it's like, dude, I'm in a room where all these guys, these legends who are here. So, I pretty much was, what was it? I was pretty much just my first year, and then going into my sophomore year, I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore, blah, 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 and then so my sophomore year, because my dad was like, this is actually pretty funny. So my dad's like, oh, when are you going to go to wrestling? Like, oh, I think it's starting late. I didn't want to tell him that I quit, So I was kind of like, I didn't want to tell him. And then eventually I told him, I told him, and he's like, okay, but one of my captains at the time, he was a senior, I was a sophomore, and his name was Jack. And him and his brother, dude, did judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. Their dad teaches Japanese judo. Japanese. He teaches judo, but he also teaches some Japanese jiu-jitsu. And so, but those guys are just martial artists. And it's funny, Jack is actually a 2-time world champ as a purple belt. And he won 2 consecutive, now he's a brown belt. But anyway, he every time he saw me on campus, he was like, when are you going to come to practice? When are you going to come to practice? He goes, dude, don't quit, man. It's really a good thing for you, man. This would be really good. Because, dude, I was like, and he just was like, and so one day I said, Jack, I'll be at practice today. He's like, oh, okay, right on. So he,
Yeah, sometimes you need that, like, pestering.
Yeah, he was pestering me good, but man, you know, he really got to me. And so I started wrestling, and again, we had a different coach every year. So my sophomore year, we had a different coach from last year. And so they had just kind of like a seasonal coach come in so they can find out what was going on. So pretty much and then there was 2 coaches, but one of them kind of threw me into the corner, and he had me go train with the middle school guys, but I'm like, dude, I'm not getting any better. So the other coach brings me back into the wrestling room to come train with the varsity guys. And so I did okay. I won like 12 matches. I placed in a couple of tournaments. I'm like, okay, cool, not bad. And I started doing freestyle and Greco. After that year, he told me about it. So I started doing. So that's when my sophomore year, I really started training all the time until I graduated high school. And I was training Greco-Roman with Rob Herman, who's also a Greco-Olympic head coach in '96, and I think he was the assistant head coach in 2000. And he's trained Dan Henderson and Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen knows him. So, and so I trained with him, and then I was doing freestyle and Greco, dude. And so I had this crazy story about that. Like, I did my first Greco tournament, and I got suplexed, dude. And I didn't tuck my chin, and I felt my neck, my shoulder, and all my ribs. Just, like, it went crack, like that at the same time. And, dude, that was the most painful thing. And it's crazy how my mom freaked out. My dad, he was like, all right, he's still moving. He's okay. So, but that was my first time doing Greco, dude. I got suplexed, dude. And
that
so.
reminds me of the first time that I did karate.
Yeah.
And the first day that we did sparring, and I went up against this guy, and he just front kicked me right in the stomach, super hard, and just knocked the wind out of me. And like, I was like,
yeah.
I was just like on the ground, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we all got those.
Yeah.
We all got those painful stories.
Yeah.
Oh, is it kind of like how I kick you in the face every day just to wake you up?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
or like
interesting.
when I clock choked Aaron and he almost broke my neck.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, that I did Greco, and so it actually put me out for a while. I actually tore some muscle tissue in my back. But granted, dude, I went on my neck, and I had a couple of bruised ribs. They weren't broken, but they felt. I had a hard time breathing for a little bit, but all I had was just a slight tear of muscle tissue in my back. And it's like, dude, I should have. That's all I had. I could have broken my neck and my ribs and I could have dislocated my shoulder or I could have broken a collarbone too, like all at once. But I didn't, and so I was just like, so I was out for a little bit, and dude, I wanted to come back on the mat so bad. I was like, and then, like 2 months later, I was back on the mat.
Wow. And
so I started training, and so that was in the off season, and then my junior year, we finally got a coach from Pennsylvania, and he really connected well with us as a team. And he was just hardcore, man. He was a cool dude, and we loved him. And we just wanted him there. And then, like, our team was, I think we would have made a run. Like, you know, it was just crazy how it was finally coming together. And, you know, and so, you know, the team was coming together, and then, you know, the storm hits, and so we just This was in 2005, and we were about to, it was 2005, and so, you know, the season's about to start, we're doing preseason, and then, you know, unfortunately, we had this is part of the story, man, we had a friend of ours, he trained with us during the summer, in preseason. We went to South Carolina, and we did a wrestling dual tournament there, and then we saw him at a wrestling camp. And then I remember 2 weeks later, man. I mean, you know, my teammate at 6 in the morning, we were about to practice. He goes, "Hey, you know, so and so died." We're like, "What?" We just saw him 2 weeks ago. We're like, "Yeah, dude, he died in a car accident," and it was all over the news. And it was just something that when I would go to the gas station at my house, man, there was the photo right there of the guy that I knew. Yeah. And this is what I was going through as a wrestler, man. And the week before, I knew another guy who killed himself, and he was a wrestler too. And so that happened. Then the next week, you know, the guy that we knew, he died, and it was like 3 other people died too in that accident, and drunk driving. And so you know, and it was tough, man, because wherever I went, when I turned the TV on, when I walked in the gas station, I just, that was there. I mean, you know, it was just, everybody was under 18. It was just, as a wrestler going through that, I just, you know, it really messed up my mindset. And then we went to the funeral on a Friday, and it was just, you know, as a wrestler, this was just really tough for me. You know, this is one of the trials I went through, and my team as well, and not just me, and then even the parents, and seeing our friend in the coffin, and it's like, and then the next day, we had to evacuate and leave the city because the hurricane was coming, and we had to run for our lives pretty much at that point. We had to pack everything up what we could at the last minute, and so my coach just moved from Pennsylvania, and he brought his assistant's belongings with him, and so pretty much, dude, he all his stuff was here. He brought his wife and kid here from Pennsylvania. Next thing you know, dude, storm hits, floods everything. We're running for our lives, dude. I was sleeping in a Walmart parking lot with my family in Alabama, and it's like everybody was spread apart, and so we just didn't know where everybody was. We didn't know who made out what. It was crazy, man. We sat in traffic for like 15 hours at the least, and I'm just like, dude, this is crazy. And so, and come to find out, like, our school got destroyed. Our wrestling room that my dad just built got destroyed. You know, our houses, everything is destroyed, dude. It was just horrible. And so we went from Alabama, and I went to Tennessee, and I lived there for a few months, and I did some wrestling up there, and it was really nice up there, but, you know, I felt like the team needed me, and so I went back down there, and I remember going back down there before I committed, just seeing everything destroyed, and I saw my school destroyed, the wrestling room. I was like, it was so surreal. It was just so surreal, man. And so we made it work. So here's where it was interesting. They're like, okay, guys, you can still have a wrestling season. You know, they got whoever they could back. Not everybody from the team came back. Some stayed in different states, and just didn't come back. So we had to we went into this warehouse, and we had to share it. They were like, okay, you guys can have a wrestling season, but you gotta share it with your rival, your school rival. We had to share a warehouse with our high school rival, and we had to share our mat with them. They were like, we'll share the facility, but you gotta share the mat. And we're like, because it was our mat. So we're like, all right, we had a good mat. And so, dude, what my school was doing, we're like, okay, you can still have a school year. They made it work. It was crazy. With all the destruction, all the chaos, all the crime that was going on in the city, and all the reconstruction they were trying to do. So they had us go to school at night at another school while they went to school during the day. So it was my cousin's school. So we would wrestle early in the morning. I would wake up at 4 in the morning to go to wrestling practice. And it would be like 7 a.m. Or actually, it'd probably be 6 a.m. actually. It was early, man. And I would sit in traffic for 3 hours. And that drive to where we were getting was only a 50-minute drive. Because everybody was coming back. Everybody was moving back. Trying to get into the city, you know? So we went there. And in this warehouse, bro, I kid you not. I know I'm not from like Chicago or anything where it's cold. In Louisiana, it does not get very cold. But bro, it was cold that year. It was December, and I was just like, bro, it is so cold in there. It was about 30 degrees in the room, at most 30 degrees. It was probably colder.
Crazy, bro.
In a wrestling room, and the mat.
It's supposed to be hot in there.
Yeah, but we're in a warehouse. We're sharing a warehouse, and it's like it was so cold.
So
in
would
there.
you guys practice together?
No, so the rivals would practice after us. So we got the mat before they did. And they would look at us too. They would be like, get off the mat.
Yeah.
Like, come on, hurry up, get off the mat, dude. We're here. We got to practice. We're like, all right, We didn't say that, but we can tell just by looking at them, like, because we just didn't like them. It was water and oil. You had a over 100-year rivalry with the school, dude. It's like, we didn't like you, you didn't like us. So that's how it was at. That's how it's. So we, dude, it was so cold in that warehouse. The mop bucket water was even frozen. That's how cold it was in there.
Oh my goodness.
And so I'm just like, we made it happen, dude. In my first day back, so they were like, oh, it's Donnie's first day back. They did a bullpen. You know what the bullpen is? Where you're in the center, everybody's running around you, and they call out a name, and the guy just comes at you. Well, and that's the thing. Wherever that guy comes at you, he can come up from behind you and hit you from behind. Well, I had one guy hit me from behind. Another guy, comes out of nowhere, just beating me up. I turn around, and they called one guy, and I just turn around. Next thing I know, I have a forearm just come right, like just vertically on my nose, bam, and I just fall back. I'm so tired from training, and I just fall back, and I'm just like, bam, and I'm like, oh, dude, I know there's blood, and I just look, and I was like, my whole hand is bleeding, like, and my whole nose was just, my face was just dripping of blood, and they looked at me while I was down. They said, welcome back, and I'm like, right on. And so we had to practice in the warehouse for part of that season, and my dad made another room for us temporarily. And just waking up at 4 a.m, going to a cold warehouse, and you're gonna go wear yourself out. You're gonna beat yourself up, beat your teammates up. You're gonna go through this grueling practice, and you're just like, man, that's when you really love it, because that was just not appealing. Because dude, when I was up in Tennessee, I had a nice wrestling room. It was heated. The girls were beautiful up there. I'll be honest, up in Knoxville, and it was a nice school, but I was like, you know what? I know what I'm getting back into. And it was a grind, man. It was a hustle. And I remember going into my senior year, and so we got a couple of guys back, a couple of my teammates, and me and my buddies were captains, and we had to lead this team, and everything was still destroyed. We had to lead our team. We had to lead these young kids on how to persevere through the hard times. So I remember, dude, there was one time, dude, it was just so cold. So we're by our campus now. We made a wrestling room by our school. And we're in modular units, and we have a wrestling room there. And this is my senior year, so we would go run in the mornings, or we would practice, whatever the captains would decide. And so one time, dude, we would just run in the mornings pretty frequently. Dude, it was so cold, man. And we're right by the Mississippi. In Louisiana, dude. You know why? Because of humidity. The humidity, it gets into your bones. Like, it's that bad. You don't realize how much moisture can affect the weather, and it can. And so we're running along the Mississippi River with the wind blowing at us, and it was so cold, one of the kids took a piece of the puddle that was frozen. He goes, look, it's this cold outside. Holding a piece of puddle, that wasn't glass, that was water he picked up that was frozen. I'm like, and we would run one time, dude, like we'd run like 5 to 7 miles in the morning, and it was 30 degrees, dude. We're all bundled up in hoodies, beanies, gloves. Like, it was cold, dude, with the wind. And like I said, I know it's not like Chicago or Ohio or New York. I mean, those guys are on a different level, but dude, considering it doesn't get cold there, that was some brutal stuff. We didn't have heat in the room, and so there was times, man, and we were in the 9th ward, where it was more industrial, and the 9th ward's kind of like, you don't really want to go there. It's rough side of the tracks. It's the wrong side of the tracks, but that's where our school was. And there was times, dude, where like we would run and we're trying not to get hit by 18-wheelers, because they would be going into the warehouses. And so there was times where I remember one time I told my boys, I said, hey, we either have to do a SEAL practice or a 7-mile run, and it was downpouring rain. I said, I'm not doing a SEAL practice today, dude, because the SEAL practices are brutal. So I had me and my team, we all ran in the rain 7 miles, and we ran back. And crazy, dude. Like, some of the stuff we did was just crazy, but I don't know, man. Like, I'm trying to think. I know I faced some other adversity too, like with wrestling, and it's gonna be mixed matched, you know, like from my junior year and senior year. But that was kind of like my senior year, and dude, there was times, man, where I remember there was this one guy, dude. He was like a stud, but he was Division II, and so I was, he was a Division II, I was a Division I. Okay. So we had 3 divisions in the state. And this guy was like the stud of Division II. And I was like a contender in the D1 mix, and so everybody knew who I was, and they're like, oh, you're in the top 7. I'm like, okay. This guy was supposed to be number 1 and 2. Well, this dude at weigh-ins, man, you know, so check this out. This is crazy. So you know how like weight cuts are brutal for wrestlers? Well, I was 119 pounders all 4 years of my my wrestling career. And so I had to stay 119 because of hydration test. But my coach says, hey, you got to wrestle 125. And I'm like, okay. He goes, but you got to weigh 119. I said, and I'm like, okay. And he goes, but you have to win. And I look at him, I said, okay. And he goes, but you have to pin him. It was all these like, you gotta wrestle 125, but you gotta do it weighing 119. So I had to give up weight. Then you gotta win, but you can't just win. You have to pin him.
Why?
We had to win the duel. We were short. We were giving up so many spots, and we were forfeiting our spots. And so we had so many forfeits, dude. But if we pinned, we did the math. We're like, okay, if this guy pins and this guy pins, this guy pins, and if we get 2 wins in here, we can possibly win a duel. It's a crazy strategy. It's kind of like it's like, why are we doing a duel? We're not going to win. But we won in mat time. So my coach that I had, he was alum. My coach from Pennsylvania, by the way, he went back up to PA, and then they hired an alumni, which crushed me because my coach from PA would have probably gotten me a scholarship to somewhere in Pennsylvania, I believe, or I would have gotten hooked up. But they picked alumni to hire him, so they have him, so he's telling me, so this is my coach, and he's telling me all these things, so we're weighing in, dude. We're in the locker room. I weigh in. I'm just hanging out, dude. I'm like laughing, and the other coach knows me. I'm cool with him. And this guy's all serious, barely making weight, you know. He's like on the razor's edge. I'm at 119. I'm like, dude, can I just go piss? You know, like I can, you know, can I go pee? You know, like, dude, just weigh in. I'm like, all right, cool. So we weighed in. This dude's like wanting to kill me, dude. I'm on his turf. All his family's there. His girlfriend's in the stands. So, and I'm just like, whatever. I'm going to do my thing, dude. I'm like, whatever, you know. And so I'm getting ready. I'm warming up. And this dude's like, dude, he's like crazy. He's all like, he just wants to kill me. I'm like, okay. Well, our match comes up. Well, we look at each other, and so I'm like, okay. First match, like as soon as the ref blows the whistle, this dude, me and him got aggressive. I felt his aggression, so I went off of his aggression. The ref had to stop us, dude, because it was starting to get physical. He stopped us. He goes, whoa, chill, wrestle. Okay. First round, I think he was winning 2-0. I was down. I was like, okay, this isn't happening. So, second round comes in. I get free. I get my escape. I do a double leg, take him down, bam, and I hit a hard double leg, and then I hit the double leg so hard, he just like, I saw the video in his face, he's like, oh, that hurt, and I'm like, yeah, you know, watching the film. So I eventually I think I pinned him in the second round. I get him in a chicken wing, and I normally don't crank a chicken wing, but I got it so deep that I cranked it on his ribs, dude, and I pinned him, dude, in the second round. Like, I was down, then I was winning, and I was like, screw this, and I just took it, and I just finished him, and I cranked his ribs so hard, he just couldn't, and he was fighting it, too, so it was even more, and I just started cranking, and I just had the bone on the rib, dude, just cranking, pin him, and he's just holding his ribs like, oh my gosh. Not only did he lose and get hurt, got hurt on his turf in front of his family and in front of his girlfriend, and so I'm sitting on the bench, I'm just chilling, watching the matches. One of my teammates says, dude, look, homeboy's crying. He was like not crying, but he was like pouty, and his girlfriend's like kind of trying to comfort him, and I'm just like, ha, you know, sucker, you know. I was just like, okay, whatever. So the crazy thing is, dude, 2 years. So the next year, one of my buddies beats him in the state finals. Okay, I'm hanging out with my buddy 2 years later. And so the guy comes up to me and my buddy. He goes, I want a rematch. And he points his finger at us. And I'm like, and my buddy says, he goes, you'll get your rematch? He goes, no, I'm talking to him. And I look, and I'm kind of like looking around like, who's he talking to? And they're like, and he goes,
Recognize
and I was like, wait, me? And so he was like, I started laughing. And I was like, this dude's off his rocker. He wants a rematch. And he went to my wrestling team, my old wrestling team, and he was like, oh, I want a rematch with him. And I was like, this guy's lost his freaking mind. And I was like, we can go right now, dude. Let's not schedule it. I was like ready to go right there. Yeah. And they were like, no, dude, get out of here. You know, you're not getting. But it's like, that was one of the craziest moments for me. This dude, I beat him in front of 100 people, and he gets mad. My boy beats him in front of 2,000 people. He's like tripping.
But whatever.
I think because I heard him in front of his girlfriend. I think that's what really. Yeah, that's probably it.
A duel is so much more intimate than like a tournament.
It is, because you're on someone's turf. It's mano a mano, one mat.
Yeah.
You know, but that yeah, dude, and that was one of my crazy stories. Like, but that's not even the craziest one, dude. Like, I mean, I got another
that's
duel.
Intense, bro.
If you think that's intense, I have another one that's more intense than that.
All these stories are bringing me
back to when you were wrestling.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like the duels and the practices.
Oh, dude, like I love duel meets. I wish I could go to more duel. I would love to go to a duel meet out here.
Yeah.
I would just I would love to go see like maybe the Vacaville guys go, or like the Wood guys. They're good from what I hear, or even somewhere in Sacramento. Yeah. But dude, I got a really cool story. I got a couple of funny ones. I'll tell you, those are really short though. But this one story I had, dude, I was cutting weight. So check this out. So like I told you guys, I was 119 pounds. Well, I started growing. Like even though I'm not very tall now, I started like just filling up. I started getting heavier. I was weighing about 130 pounds. Okay. And so, dude, I remember during a school day. So this one's a pretty short story. I'll make this one short. So we had a duel meet against our rival that we were sharing the warehouse with. That I told you guys about. And I didn't know I was going to be wrestling because I had cross-country state. And I did cross-country my senior year. I was 132 pounds. Or 100... What was that now? I was like 130, 132. And they were like, hey, you're wrestling Wednesday. And I just got back Sunday. And I'm like, oh, crap. I gotta go cut weight. And I didn't know I was going to wrestle. Because I was like, dude, I didn't practice for... Because there was like a certain state law, like you couldn't... If you didn't go to wrestling practice for... 3 days before a tournament or a duel, you couldn't wrestle. And they're like, no, you're wrestling. And I'm like, because I was the captain. So I'm like, oh, crap. So, dude, I was cutting weight, dude. I ran like I ran Sunday night, Monday morning, and I even went to wrestling practice, dude. I even went on the bike during my lunch. And I was like just trying to get all of that out, all the weight off. Dude, I was just cutting, and I was struggling. Trying to get to 119 from during a school day. This is during a school day. If it was during like a regular day, no problem. I mean, it would still have been tough.
Harsh.
Yeah. So, dude, like I was spitting in Gatorade bottles all day, and I'm like, and everybody's eating like, dude, for lunch. I was like, I gotta go on a bike, and so I went on a bike, and then wrestling practice came around, and I'm so tired, and I'm like 124, and I just had no energy. Or no, I was cutting from 32, I think. Yeah, I think it was 32. And I was like 124, and I was just tired because I didn't eat for like a day and a half. And so I'm just like, I'm sluggish. I'm getting the weight off. Well, I even cut my hair. I was like, I hope this makes a difference. Brant, I cut it. Buzz cut. And so...
How long was it at the time?
It wasn't too long.
Donate a pint of blood.
Yeah, donate a pint of blood and cut all your hair off. I could spike it up, but that was about it. Had some curls, but I shaved it. And so we get to our rival school, and I'm running, dude. I passed out while I was running. My other coach had to come pick me up, and like they brought me into the locker room, and like, dude, he passed out. And so I'm just like, oh. I get on the scale, 119, like 0.2 or 0.3. I was like, I said, dude, I ain't got enough. I said, I'm just dead, And I was just dead. And so they were like, oh, we'll give it to you. I was like, okay. And then they found out that I beat their boy in my junior year. They're like, nah, dude, we'll just do an exhibition. So my match was an exhibition match. Bro, I felt like my vision got blurred. All I remember from the match was a guy in a white singlet, a blue mat, and they had like one light on in the gym. Everything else was black. And I was like, dude, I don't remember the match. And I still wrestled, and I was scoring takedowns, but the crazy thing was the ref wasn't giving me my takedowns. And I'm just like, and everybody's like, you got screwed in that match. I was like, dude, it was an exhibition. Whatever. But it was crazy, and dude, it was just nuts, man. My mom found out that I passed out, and they still made me wrestle. She was pissed, you know. And she was like, "That's not cool, man." You know, like I legitimately passed out on the concrete, and I was like, "Dude, I'm done." So I was just like, "Dude, this is crazy," you know. But yeah, they still made me wrestle, and I had a harder time once like Christmas came around. That's when I started having a harder time cutting weight, because I couldn't eat on Thanksgiving, and so I have one other crazy weight cut story. It was a dual meet. All my dual meets are the crazy stories. That's where all the action happened, dude. And so that dual meet was over, so we had another one, and I thought it was a 2-pound allowance, and they said, nah, dude, that's next week. I'm like, oh, so I gotta wait 19? They're like, yeah, you gotta wait 19. And I just, dude, it was getting so much harder for me to cut. I was running and I was wrestling, and I stopped sweating. I couldn't sweat anymore. I just couldn't sweat. I ran 2 miles, no water. My clothes were dry. I couldn't sweat anymore, and my mouth was so dry. You know how when you get that cotton mouth and your tongue sticks to you, and you're just like, oh gosh, you feel like you're dead. Yeah. You know, and so I was like, I told my guy, I said, dude, I can't cut. And they're like, you're getting that weight down. I had some gum spitting, and dude, I barely made weight. I made it, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm going up against another rival, and this one kid, I went up against him. He was kind of a punk, dude. I was like, not only am I beat up, I'm tired, I'm drained, and now I got to go up against this punk kid who has a chip on his shoulder. So I went up against him. I'm beating him in the duel, and you know, he kind of has just this attitude in the match, and I'm like, all right, dude, you know. And you know, he just kind of, you know, buck with me, and I was like, okay. Well, I started beating him. You know, the match was close, and I just started running points on him, and I couldn't pin the guy. I was just so drained, and we're on their turf at their school, and so I'm on top of him like as if I was going for like a spiral ride, or you know. And so the match was over, and I was just so done, dude, from the day. I went through hell that day, dude, cutting, and I was on top of the dude, and ref blew the whistle. He goes time, and as soon as I got up and the kid was about to get up, I slammed his face right into the mat, and I just slammed it right in front of everyone, and I didn't care. I was so mad, and referee's like, 1 point deduction, and I was just like, I don't care. I didn't care, dude. And so I look back at it, I was like, dude, I really was mean. Like, they gave me the nickname Mean 119 because I was just always in a bad mood, cutting weight. And like one kid asked me, can I have like a rice bar? I was like, no. You know, I was just angry all the time. And so, but dude, but yeah, I shoved that dude's face into the mat. It was funny, dude.
That kind of reminds me of the old, back when I was wrestling, there was a tournament at Woodland.
Yeah.
And you know, Coach Chris is a big fan of clubbing.
Yes, he is.
He's a big clubber. He likes heavy hands, as East Coast style, and I was a fan of that, you know, because I was a striker or whatever. So
yeah.
So I pull up. We're at this tournament, and the first match,
yeah.
I come out, and they say go, and I just. Boom! I pulled back. I still have the video. I basically hit this guy, gave him a nice right hook.
Yeah.
And he looks to the ref, and the ref laughs. and I'm like, okay, sweet, let's go. And so this is basically just a boxing match.
It's just a brawl,
it's like
dude.
A slap boxing match. Like we're just going back and forth like that. And the ref's laughing, and then like I heard someone on the side is like, "What is this East Coast match?" Dude,
for real, like because that's their style, like.
Yeah, but I was, you know, we were going off, and the ref didn't stop, so you know I was going for it. It was great for setups, and you know, I was able to get some good takedowns.
Yeah, you can only club so many times before the ref says, "Okay, this isn't a street fight." In Pennsylvania, that doesn't exist. We're like, yeah, go and club them, you know.
Yeah.
But dude, it's funny you say that because when I was up in PA, I was wrestling in Bloomsburg and then in Pittsburgh. And dude, those guys are just brawlers. Like,
Really?
like the wrestlers out here, they're tough. They really are.
They're more like finesse.
They're more finesse and technical. Out there, it's more like they're just gonna hit a really hard double, prior a really hard club. And when I was in Pittsburgh, dude, they're just, it's just a different animal. Like, I mean, dude, I got destroyed, dude, when I was out there. I went up against a dude who was going to Penn State and then a guy who was going to Pitt. Okay? Two top, those are top schools, man.
Yeah.
And they had the singlets on, too. And I'm like, oh, crap. This was a summer classic that we were wrestling in Pittsburgh. And, dude, just the guys out there, the wrestling is just savage, dude. But, dude, it was crazy, though, man, when I was my senior year. It's crazy, dude. Like, I went up against this dude. It was so I wasn't even supposed to, I went to the next day for state. I wasn't seated. I have a really cool story about that. I know you want to hear some really cool stories about wrestling, so I got them. And these are like pretty fun. These are pretty cool stories.
Pretty interesting stories.
So there's this guy, okay? He was from Lafayette. And I went up against him in Baton Rouge at this one tournament, and he teched me. Like, and I had a bad weight cut that week. Out of all my weight cuts, that was the worst weight cut, even worse than the duels. And he just teched me, dude. And I'm like, oh man. So what I did was, my coach didn't teach me how to study him. Every time I saw him wrestle, I watched him, and I watched my film with him. And I looked at my teammate. I said, hey, this is what he does. This is what we're gonna do. I need you to emulate his style because you're the same build as him, and I need you to emulate his style for me. He goes, okay. And he's an 8th grader, okay. And so, because we had middle school and high school at my school, and so my buddy Tim, and I said, Tim, you gotta help me. And so I went up against him in Lafayette in his backyard, and I lost to him 7-5, and I studied him. And his coach looked at him. He goes, and the guy just kind of blew me off, like, yeah, whatever. For being a Southern state, they got some egos in wrestling out there. For being in Louisiana, some guys kind of, I don't know, but then again, we're outcast. So I beat him 7-5. His coach knew me, and his coach, was like, hey, you might have won the match, but he's coming for you. And the guy's like, whatever. So I see him at state. We're basically fighting for the spot to go to the next day at state. So we're
JB?
What up, JB?
Hey, what's
Yo,
up,
you need to get over here, man. Get on the show.
Yeah.
So I'm going up to so we're in the consolation brackets, and in order to win, you have to go to the next day. Okay. So I go up against this guy, and before the match, I looked at my mom. I told her, I said, and she just looks at me. I said, I'm gonna beat this guy. And so she's like, do your thing. And so I changed my game because I would like to collar tie. I changed my game. I went and shot a low single, and I never shoot low singles. The guy just looked like, and we went out of bounds, and my wrestling coach was like yelling in the video. He's like, you got to keep that in bounds, and my dad's like going nuts, and everybody's going nuts, and the guy was just like, whoa, who is this guy? He knew right off the bat I was a different wrestler, and this was the best match that I've probably ever wrestled. So I can't remember how the match went, but I scored, then he scored. I scored, well, he scored again. It's tied up 6-4. And so so pretty much, dude, the match is 4-4. Well, I picked bottom. I was bad on bottom with him. This guy was a top rider. Dude, I hit a switch out of nowhere, and I'm riding him. And and that's the thing, I was hitting the switch, going for the attempt. I kept attempting the switch because I was like, I need two. I don't want one, I need two. And I was trying to get out, and like, dude, at the end of the 3rd round, I hit a switch and I get two. And it's 6-4. And so I'm on top of him, and I'm like, I gotta ride him out. And I'm a good top rider, so I'm just trying to, I'm spiraling, arm chopping, grabbing him, grabbing the ankle, far ankle, and I'm just on top of him, making sure he doesn't get up. And then right then and there, I saw him put his head on the mat, bam, like this. And right then and there, I said, I won. And I was like, I won. and he beat me twice. And so I hear all my fans, like the school, like all the parents, and there was people from a few people from our school, and we had a pretty good sized section out of the 2,000 or 3,000 that was there. And I can hear them saying 10, 9, 8, and that's what they would do, like whenever our guys were winning, and they would do a countdown. Well, as soon as they said 5, 4, and on 3, I just went and the guy picked his face up. Bam! I cross-faced him as hard as I could, and he kind of got up, and then you hear 2, 1. I pushed him, and I was like this, and I was like, yeah. And I looked at my fans, and I was like, yeah. And it's like I looked, and the dude, he was just devastated. I destroyed him. I didn't just beat him, I broke him. I broke him. And the dude was just like this. He couldn't even look at me when we shook hands because it's not that he was being a sore loser. He just barely shook my hand, and I was just so ecstatic. I'm moving on to the next day. Yeah. And which I almost dislocated both my shoulders. And because that other dude I went up against was a stud. But that was my glory moment in my high school career. And because this dude doubted me, and I told my mom, I said, I'm going to win. And I told her, and I imposed my will basically before the match, and the guy just blew me off like whatever. And then I think because I beat him at the last second, or the last few seconds I fought, and then not only did I fight for it, I beat the crap out of him. I cross-faced him hard as I could, and then I pushed him, and I'm like, yeah, time was up, and I was like, yeah, that was amazing. And here's the crazy thing. I'm doing Greco during the summer, and I see one of his teammates. I see a few guys from his school, and it was funny. There was these 2 little 8th graders going into freshman year, and they're like, I was like, oh man, who was that guy? There was this match. It was crazy at state, and he beat so and so. He beat, his last name was or his name was Jeremy. They're like, yeah, dude, Jeremy lost to this guy, man, at state. And I looked at the 2 kids and I leaned in. I said, that was me. And they were just like, that was you? I was like, yeah. And his teammate looked at me and he says, dude, real talk, you broke him for a long time. Like he didn't talk the ride back. Like it was a 3-hour drive. He didn't talk. He just put his hoodie on and he goes, you broke him, dude. Like I knew I broke him, but I didn't realize I broke him for about a week. Yeah. And he goes, dude, you broke my teammate. And I was like, well, it's part of the sport. I'm just like, well, it happens, dude.
That's wrestling is.
But that was like my glory moment, I guess. So, or it was, so it was something that I cherish, man. And yeah, dude, that was, just knowing that the odds were against me. Yeah. It was just something very, very much. It was redemption. It was more so about redemption, and. I've lost to guys and beaten them, but that one was more special because I lost to him twice, and then I beat him, and I lost him in his backyard, and then I just kind of did my homework, and I did it on my own. I didn't do it with my coach. I took a teammate, and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to beat this guy, and I did it, and it was just like, it was amazing, dude, and so yeah, dude, that was very glorious for me, and I remember after state when I lost, dude, I remember was like, oh man, this was surreal. It was over. That was it for me. I knew I wasn't going to college. I was like, oh, this is it. And I got emotional. And my teammates came in the back. A couple of them, they, just showed some love, and things were good. And dude, I ate so much food. I weighed 121 Saturday morning. Monday morning, I was 140, 141. I gained like 20. I gained like 20 pounds within a day and a half. Dude.
I mean, that's probably a lot of water too.
It was a lot of water, but then I couldn't go back to 119. Yeah. During the summer, they tried to get me to go 119. I said, dude, I really can't. I can't go lower than 23. Yeah. 23 was my lowest I could go. My body just said no more. Because I was cutting, and dude, I just went through so much, JV. I just went through so much weight cut. I put my body through so much hell with the weight cut. But yeah, dude. And then, I remember there was a couple of guys who would talk trash to me during wrestling. I was like, it's like whatever, dude. Yeah, I had some guys trash talk me, but what was it? I'm trying to think, dude. Like, You asked for stories, man. I'm giving them to you.
Yeah, man.
I know you're
These
pretty
are awesome, bro.
You know, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so check this out. I'm kind of going back and forth, but when you got a good story, man, you can't stop. And when you think of something good, you can't stop. But I lived in a FEMA trailer for almost 2 years while we were in a FEMA trailer trying to wrestle and cut weight. Dude, it's crazy. And then, dude, it was nuts because, I don't know, man, just living in a confided space. It was like this little, it was confided. Imagine living in this.
Right.
Like, I mean, granted, the FEMA trailer was bigger, but imagine living in this
More people.
with you, your brother, and one other person, you know, for almost 2 years. That's crazy, dude. Like, I started getting cabin fever, you know, and, yeah, dude, you know, and then I remember, you know, my teammates, man, we had fun, dude. Like, we had some crazy stories about, so you know how I told you we had to go to wrestling practice in the morning? We would go to, I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but dude, this is funny. We would go to my teammate's house and we would drive. We would stay there for about 5 hours, 6 hours, you know, rest up, and then we go to school at night. Well, one of my teammates, dude, he decides we start pranking each other.
Nice, JB.
Night, JB.
Night, bro.
You know, so we started playing pranks on each other because we got bored, dude. Like, we ain't got nothing to do for 5 or 6 hours, so we started antiquing people. My buddy had the key to the shower, and as soon as he'd hear the water turn off and you'd open the curtain, you get antique, dude. You know what that is, right? It's when you take like flour, take a handful, and you throw it on someone. Like Bam Margera was known for doing that.
Okay.
And so as soon as like we get out the shower or we're about to dry off, they'd open the door, bam, hit it, you know, hit you with, and you're just like, oh, you have to get back in the shower, and you're like, and it gets in your eyes and it burns too, man. So one day my teammate didn't know, so he locks the door. We can't get in, so we can't antique him. And he's like, yeah, what you gonna do? So we wait till he gets out the shower. I can't remember who I was with. I said, dude, watch this. So I took some Red Zone body spray, the deodorant. I think that's what it's called. I took some sort of deodorant and I sprayed it underneath by the door. And he's out by the sink and he goes, yeah, you guys can't do anything. And so I spray it. He goes, what are you doing? And I light it on fire. And he goes, ow! He jumps up. I lit him on fire, dude. He jumps up and he's like, ow, that's hot. And I'm just like, yeah, that's for antiquing me, fool. And so I just was like, the antiquing stopped after that point. Dude, but yeah, you
were about crazy.
I set him on fire, dude. Because it's funny. Like, I just spray it, and he goes, and I can tell he's like, what is he doing? And I just lit it on fire, and he jumped, dude. He goes, that's hot. I was like, yeah, dude, it's fire. Bro, antiquing stopped. I guarantee, like, the prank stopped after that point because they knew. And, like, one time, he tried messing with me again. I had a little spray, and I lit it on fire, and I had a flamethrower. I was like, don't come near me. You know, I was like, we would do stuff like that. And I was like, dude, don't, like, we had enough, dude. You can, yeah, dude, we did stuff like that. I was like, I wouldn't have felt bad too if his feet would have gotten a degree burn. He shouldn't have been antiquing us, dude. You know, so it was all fun and games, dude. But we did pranks to each other so many times. Like we would be. I know this is pretty much like a wrestling episode, but dude, we one time we went to South Carolina at the Citadel, and this is like a military school. And we're not military guys, you know, and it's like, whatever, dude. So my teammate, you know, when you start winning at the tournaments, you start to get confident, but then you start getting cockier. Your other teammates start to turn on you. And so they rolled my room because this fool was talking trash. So he's like, dude, our room got rolled. And I'm like, and they told me prior, and I was like, yeah, just don't touch my stuff. So I'm like, whatever. So when they went in the room, they took something. They took something from him. And so the room is covered in toilet paper, our dorm room. And next thing you know, they said, hey man, salute Troy. And Troy's the guy that I burned, by the way, with the spray in the bathroom under the door. Okay. And so Troy's just like, you know, everybody's saying like, everybody's doing this to him. Because he's like, oh, I'm going to be the captain when I'm a senior, and everybody's saluting him. And I remember our 103 pounder would walk in the room and goes, hey captain, you know, just like saluting, and I'm just like laughing, and so throughout the day he goes, And he grabs me by the shirt. He goes, "Why do they keep saluting me?" And I said, "Look at the flagpole. Somebody took his underwear and put it on the flagpole. And we're in a military school, dude." And I'm just like, and I'm thinking, I was like, how are you guys gonna get that down? They put his underwear on a flagpole. Dude,
crazy.
we did funny stories, dude. One time, like, we took a bed apart. Like, so now we're going to pranks and stories.
Okay, I remember you told this one in the episode.
So okay, so this is up in Bloomsburg. Okay, so I'm going into my senior year. So we're in a dorm of 9 floors. There's 9 floors. So this, and Bloomsburg's tight, dude. It's cool. It's a cool little college town. Got really good Italian food. And so, you know, after the duel tournament, you know, we start playing pranks. Well, one guy was like, "Man, I can't wait to go to my dorm and just go take a nap." He was gung-ho and taking a nap. He looks, and that's there is his sleeping bag and a pillow. He goes, "Where's my bed?" And then the other guy, so one of my teammates, I think it was Troy. Troy's known for doing pranks. And so he took his bed, disassembled it, brought it all the way down, reassembled it in the basement. He reassembled the dude's bed in the basement. And the dude's like, "Where's my bed?" And he goes, "Dude." And so this kid, his name was Cheddar. You know, Cheddar, or we call him.
Okay.
We're like, "Cheddar, your bed's in the basement." And he goes, "Man, how am I going to get this bed out? Now I got to reassemble it." And he kind of had like a weird, he kind of talked funny, so it was even funnier of him getting all mad, talking really fast. "How am I going to sell this bed?" And all this, you know? So he's like, "All right, I'm going to get you." So the next day or two, we're going back to the dorms. Troy's bed's gone. Cheddar took his bed. He didn't just put it on one floor.
Put it on all floors.
He put it on 3 or 4 different floors. He put the mattress on one floor, and he put one side of the bed on the floor, and he put the other side of the bed on another floor, and he put the other side of the bed on the floor. So there's like 4 pieces of this bed on 4 different floors, and he looks at me and goes, "Go find them." He's like, "Go get it." And he's like, dude, that was like the best comeback of pranks, you know, because here's the thing, dude. When you're wrestling at a camp during the off season and you're with your teammates, you don't have anything else to do except either wrestle, go walk around the town, maybe, because you have a certain time you have to stay at the dorm, or if you have curfew, you can't leave the dorm. So what are you going to do? Either listen to music, or you're going to play pranks, play cards, or you're just hanging out. So that's what we would do, man. We would play pranks, and you know, like we would just dude, when we were in Bloomsburg, like that was a crazy trip, dude. They had us run 10 miles on a mountain, like in this mountain in the rain. And 10 miles.
That's crazy.
It was crazy, dude. Bloomsburg was a crazy trip. I was up there for almost a month just wrestling, and we did a plated run inside the wrestling room. So check this out. We did a plated run. And we're holding and this is part of the intense training camp, you know, and that's what we signed up for. We did a plated run inside the room, and it was 100 and something degrees in there. And I can't remember what weight I had. I think we all had weights, and we even told our 13-year-olds, and everybody says, "Hey, do not drop the plate because time will start over. So if you're at 59 minutes and 59 seconds and that plate drops, you're starting over." And they were serious about it. And so we ran in our singlets, dude. We put our singlets on, and we ran with plates for an hour and 100 and something degrees in the room. It was just hardcore, dude. My dad I think he has the film still. It's crazy, dude. Like we just did a plate run for an hour. We don't even know how long we ran. And sometimes
in circles.
Yeah, we were running in circles. And I don't know how I did it. You know? And what else did we do, man? Like one of my boys though, dude, like he was crazy. He was our 152 pounder. Like, so when we were in the room, dude, like we did a lot of activities, and you ever heard the game Sharks and Minnows as a kid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
You know how like kids like, you know, like, oh, you know, got you, you know, now you gotta be a shark and this and that. Well, we did it wrestling style, and so we had my wrestling coach from PA was involved on it, and so we would run up the wrestling walls because the guy would try to get us, and like we would dodge him, and we'd run up the wrestling wall, like on both sides. And like when the guy wasn't looking, like if he was like facing this way, he would jump. Like I remember one time I stepped on the dude's back and jumped over him. Cause I was like, and I'm like basically saying like basically, sucker, I just jumped over you, you know, like I would do stuff like that. And so one time, I saw one guy, and this guy Ortiz, man, he's actually I think related to Tito or something, and I saw he was coming to get me, so I jumped, and I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna dodge it, I'm gonna jump, so I jumped. Well, next thing I know, in midair, I see my coach coming to the side. Ortiz is coming right, my coach is coming left. Bam! I got blindsided, dude. Like, in a way, because I didn't know that he was going to hit me. I saw him coming, but then at the same time, like, this is gonna, bam! Before I could say hurt, like, dude, I just twisted in the air. I felt like I got broken in half, dude. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm a shark. I guess I'm a shark. You know, just hurting. I'm like, oh gosh, that hurts so bad. But I was like, all right, I guess the game continues. But like, dude, it was crazy in Bloomsburg, and we played football there too. And we played football wrestling style, where you don't even have to have the ball; they'll still hit you. Awesome. Like I got clotheslined by 2 98-pounders. I'm like, they just came up, they ganged up on me. You know, I was like, how? You know, but that was a hardcore camp, dude. That was probably one of the most intense training I've ever done. I mean, dude, they would be like, all right, you're gonna run 10 miles in this mountain in the rain. And it was like, I mean, it was a lap, but we had to do it 10 times. And one of my teammates, Troy, again, he's an idiot, he starts talking. He told the coach, he goes, this is all you guys got? Coach looks, goes, get a plate. Gives him a 45-pound plate, and he goes, run 1 mile. When we saw a plate, everybody freaked out. We're like, no! We started freaking out, dude. Yeah, and it was just for him, though, because he was an idiot. And we're like, where's the plate? And they're like, oh, that was just for that moron, because he was talking trash. I'm like, oh, he's an idiot. We all started laughing after that.
Did he have to do the 10 miles with the plate?
No, he only did the last mile, because he was on the last mile. Like, before he was on mile 9, or he was about, like, he looks, and he goes, oh, is this all you got? And so he was on mile 9, or he just finished 8. And so 9 to 10, he had to finish. And so I'm like, and so they said, they ran up to the room, got the plate, and they said, here you go, have fun, with the 45-pound plate, dude. Like, have fun. And he's like, oh my gosh, like I think he regretted that, but that was crazy. That was crazy, dude. You know, but yeah, dude, that's just like some of the wrestling stories I have, dude. Like with me, man, like they had, dude,
really good stories.
Yeah, dude. After a duel, we got beat up so bad. And they have a school bus that usually picks you up and picks up all the wrestlers. There's 2 school buses. We got beat up so bad. Like, I never had a beating this bad before, ever. And, dude, like, my dad and my coach, they just get in the car and they're like, see you later. And we're like, all right, where's the buses? The buses left. So we had to walk down this mountain in the dark and try to find the dorm room. And we're just like, dude, you want to talk about getting beat up, and we're all talking about it, like how bad we got beat up on the way over there. We're like, can we make this any worse on ourselves? And dude, it was just crazy, just walking in the dark in these mountains, dude, just trying to find a dorm, you know, crazy, dude. And wrestling, dude, you know, wrestling's the reason why I got into like jiu-jitsu and MMA. It was one of the things, dude. And it's like, I'm trying to think if I'm leaving anything out, dude, because I just want to make sure I don't leave anything out. It's like these stories are coming back, you know. And I don't know, dude, I was just in a room, dude, like I was just different, man. Like I had one time, me and my teammate, I don't do this now, I don't, but me and my teammate, dude, like we would just go at it. Like I felt his aggression and I would get aggressive, and I remember we clubbed, like kind of like, you know how you clubbed in that dual meet, we would club each other all the time in practice like that. Like we would just hit each other, bam. And there was one time I started seeing stars, so I clubbed him, me and him, dude, we got crazy, dude, in the room. And then afterwards, we're like, yeah, whatever, dude. You know, we're all cool about it. But it's like we got this mean streak in us, dude. And then it's like, dude, it's wrestling now, dude. You know? And you know, and so they would give me the nickname Mean 119. I was just always in a bad mood. Just I remember like when I would say, okay guys, this is what we're doing, or I was like, all right, we're doing it, and I had good judgment, you know. I was like, but dude, like trying to think, dude, like yeah, dude, the wrestling stories, dude, were awesome, you know, and just being able to wrestle, like, and that's the thing, I wrestled in PA for a little bit, wrestled in Tennessee, I mean, obviously I wrestled in Louisiana, I wrestled in Oklahoma City duels, you know, and I wrestled the number 3 guy in the nation, dude, that was bad. He was from Oklahoma, that dude was a stud. Wrestled up at Fargo. Fargo was fun. That was a really cool experience because, you know what's the crazy thing, dude? When I was up in Fargo, you know Josh Paiva, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was there when I was there. He was on the Greco team for California. And you know Tina, she's Lodi. She's our affiliate.
Yeah.
She was there too for freestyle. And I'm like, isn't that crazy though, dude? Like, I was there and I was watching Team California and I said, hey Tina, and I told Josh this story too. I said, you remember that dance off that you guys had? And he said, yeah, we remember a dance off that was going on. I said, that was with my team. My team started talking trash to your team, and then it turned out into a dance off. And I said, remember the backflips that were going on? And I said, yeah, I remember that. That was my team and your team. And they said, that's a small world, because it's like, but that's the wrestling community, dude. And you know, and I just, you know, it's crazy. I never would have thought I would have future teammates back in 2007. Like, this is back in 2007 at Fargo. And I remember just seeing guys from the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, the South. It was just cool. A great experience. And seeing the live matches. And there's a couple of those dudes who made the Olympics, you know. And I'm like, or tried out for the Olympics, you know. I mean, Jordan Oliver was on there. You know, I remember seeing him wrestle in the finals and win. And, you know, but
JB said, "Fuck yeah, I'm back."
What's up, JB?
What's
you
up,
know,
man?
You know, but yeah, dude. You know, it's, you know, wrestling is, you know, and then wrestling in California, and you know, it's really cool that I got to wrestle in the Midwest, wrestle far north. I mean, wrestle on the East Coast, wrestle out here, and then wrestle, just experiencing different styles. And the crazy thing is, man, like, you form these relationships with wrestling. I mean, you do with jiu-jitsu too. You know, you do. I have that with jiu-jitsu, and that's
There's
the one.
something so grueling about wrestling that, like, it's really like a brotherhood mentality.
Yeah, and also too, it's like straight up, it's war, dude. Like, and then you go, nothing against jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. We have tough workouts, but when you try to get ready for a wrestling tournament, it's, you know, and the crazy thing is, dude,
there's a lot of intensity between schools too.
Especially
like
the rivalries.
The mentality is like really rivalry-centered.
Yeah, I know. I had the rivalry.
Yeah.
And so there's actually this one dude. His name's Billy, and just a cool dude. He did MMA. He was doing MMA for I don't know if he's still doing it, but he wrestled. No, he's actually from Pennsylvania. He wrestled out there, and it's crazy, man. It was just one of those friendships that he was on our dual team. We needed to fill, I think, a 30-pound spot, and he filled in the spot, and he just gelled with our team, and I still keep in touch with him to this day, and this is like almost 12 years. And so he did MMA for a little bit, and he, you know, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he's still killing it though, dude. He still trains, and I was like, dude, that's awesome, man. You know, that you're doing it. I'm still training, you know, and so we still keep in touch, and you know, and maybe when I go see my cousin outside of and she lives in PA, maybe I'll go stop on by, say what's up, and but dude, that 11 years, bro, of knowing someone. It's crazy, you know, and that's the thing for all the grapplers, wrestlers, you know, you form these relationships of, you know, you form this bond. It's a brotherhood, and when you're cheering your team on at the tournaments, and you're like, yeah, you know, we gotta, you know.
When you really care how that person does for you.
You care about, like,
you care about them, that person.
like, dude, when JB was at Jiu-Jitsu World League, I was cheering him on. I was like, come on, JB, you know, I want to see him win, dude, you know, and you know, and it's like I'm there supporting my boy, dude. It's just like when you guys, like with you know, when I see my boys, or like when Barbara was fighting MMA, you know, it's like, come on, Ba, let's go. It's like, that's what it's about when you form those relationships, and you know, when you form those relationships and you build that bond and that brotherhood, and you're cheering your boy on, and when they win, you're stoked for them. When they lose, it's like you still love them, man. You know, and it's like, yeah, you know, so it's that's what it's about, man. You know, and I just, you know, it's crazy how in the beginning, how I told you guys I was almost gonna quit wrestling, and there was another time where I was gonna quit too. I just couldn't handle it, and because just I had a lot of other pressures from outside sources, and there was certain things going on. It was just getting to be too much, and where I started losing control of my anger in my wrestling. But that's a different crazy story. But you form these relationships and these bonds, dude, and it's about the people, It's about, like, okay, you guys, dude, just, and then look at what me and Devin, dude.
Yeah.
Devin's up in.
How's he doing?
He's doing good. He's doing
Is he
really.
still wrestling?
Yeah, he's still wrestling, and it's just crazy how that was another cool thing. Just seeing this kid grow as a wrestler and grow as a person, and then being part of. And what was so cool about Devin? He came up to me when I was still getting to know him, and he was doing really well. He started getting successful, and I didn't really feel like there was much love at my in Louisiana. I kind of felt like, because I coached, real quick. I know kind of low on time and stuff, but I want to share this. I coached at the school I graduated from, and I was coaching little kids, and I was coaching the high schoolers, and I would go in and help, and I was paid coaching staff, and I kind of felt like, and there were some guys who appreciated me, and I know who they are, and but when I was there, and at the banquet, they wanted to give all the coaches awards, or like give them stuff, and they didn't give me one, and I'm not so much about the gift, but I kind of felt like I wasn't appreciated. I'm like, man, I helped you guys out too. I know I wasn't like, and I just didn't feel appreciated, and I know like the parents did, some of the parents, but I was like, man, dude, you guys left me out. I was a coach too, and so. And then when I helped Devin out, and he came up to me, and he just started getting really well. He came up to me. I was at the gym working out, and he goes, hey, I just want to thank you just for being there, helping me out in wrestling, because he didn't really have a lot of people pushing him. And he goes, and this is coming from a 15, 16-year-old kid at the time, and he goes, I just want to let you know that you're part of this too. Yeah. You're part of my success. And I was like, bro, I was so blown away. Yeah, I was like,
that's real respect.
That's real. That's respect, and that goes deep. That's when you make an impact on someone's life. Yeah. And I respect Devin. He's my little brother. And I think he's gonna do really well. And I'm trying to get him to do some jiu-jitsu with us. I'm like, dude, I'd love to have you in here. You guys might hate me for. Cool. You guys might hate me when you say it's cool now, but when he's on you, so you'd be like, oh, you're gonna hate me. But nah, but it's all. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, I wanna bring him in on this, and but yeah, man, I'm just trying to think, man. There's so many stories, but I think that pretty much. Yeah, we're pretty much. Yeah, but people will listen to it still anyway. But that's yeah, dude. What was it? I appreciate you guys listening. I know I went overboard, but I know.
Oh yeah, it's all good. Those were some great stories.
What was it? Do one more. What was it? Is this continuing in?
Yeah, I'm just gonna edit it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, all right. No, yeah, just I don't want the ending to be like, okay, and then all of a sudden, click.
Yeah. Yeah, so, Samurai Shukai, episode 5, signing out.
Yeah.
Signing out.
Yo, real quick, I want to give a shout out, man.
Yeah, shout out.
Yo, Caveman Coffee, and I know you're probably not watching, but Tate Fletcher, Keith Jardine, Lacey Mackey, you guys make the best coffee. JB, gotta give a shout out to my boy JB, man. He's a stud. Gotta get him on the show.
Get him in here soon.
Oh, yeah. Get him, all the boys.
Yeah.
So, what's he saying, dude? What's all he been saying?
Yeah, he's been talking to him.
You stayed Team 9 in the end you stayed to the end at the World League, and then a bunch of fuck yeah, and then keep this shit alive.
Yeah, hey, that's our battle that's our battle cry.